way that I could escape. And I had to face Mengele. He was usually inside of this, building, and he was standing with his, left and right. And I felt 100% I will not make it. I was just, they called it in the camp Muslim. Muslim meant you were only bones, And I start, putting color in my face, pinching, and, it's hard for you to understand. When I finally faced them, he held me back. In that second, he asked me how old I am. And I cannot really remember. I only remember I told them I'm much younger than I was. For some reason, this moment, something was telling me maybe he'll have pity. Of course, I don't know if he has any pity. And he let me through. This, the others, it'd be too long to tell you how I don't know, how long do we have still that I can speak? And I can tell you about one also, which is unbelievable. When I was walking already in, we knew right away there is a selection. I was standing back and thinking, what I can do. This was my second one. First one I escaped in a different way, but this one is especially for you to understand how I am. And already sitting all naked with my little, clothes. And I noticed we had some 2 rooms, open. And not thinking too long, and those rooms were just bundles of clothes after the disinfection, which some of them went to Germany, who knows what they did with them. And it was almost to the ceiling. I started running to one of those rooms and put myself in under those, bundles of clothes. But when the girls notice I'm running there to this room, they start also running. So the SS caught him, and he went in with his bayonet and went through those, bundles of clothes to find you. And he takes out one, whatever, how many, and then they ask him, I could hear it in German, do you think it's anybody else? But the girls did not really even know. You can imagine, when I was sitting under there and still keeping my little clothes, and I almost close to me, the bayonet was close to me. I can still remember my heart was going just like this. You just don't know when someone wants to kill you, you want to survive. You don't even know why you want to survive. So this is, I just want to mention about this one. In Auschwitz-Birkenau, I went through things what you never can even only probably in the films, which still is not justified still, when you were inside there. We were one day working very close to a crematorium. It was probably around, May, I would say, and it was a beautiful weather. And we were working there in a meadow. And suddenly, I shall never forget this in my entire life, we could see 2 trucks, open trucks, and what do you think from far? You could see just little tiny children, and they all were wearing white little, little shirts. They all looked like, to me, like little birds from far. And how would you feel that in a very short period, 15, 20 minutes, and you see the smoke going up? Our little angels, our Jewish children, I found out later that they came from Lodz, when Lodz already was, they cleaning up from the no Jews anymore. Another thing was standing out my, my mind. When one day, for me it was a lucky day, when we were cleaning up, close the barracks where the German SS was living there. Why it was lucky? If you found a little piece from a a potato peel or even an apple peel, whatever. This was something really to celebrate. But as we were working there, openly, it was getting already closer, I believe, for the Germans losing the war, you know, as far as, you know, Stalingrad. And suddenly we hear shrieks, and I see two big trucks, open trucks, and all naked. They were all so thin from Greece, all those women from Greece. For them, it was very difficult to survive. You know, the climate is so warm there. And they couldn't take it. And all of them, I shall never, never forget the cries, because they knew they were going to their death. What horrible things, another one, what I, you know, can share it with you, was, as you know, and I don't know if you know, that in Auschwitz-Birkenau, only to the gas chambers were subject the Jewish people and the gypsies. All the others, we had political, you know, prisoners also, as you know, non-Jewish and so on, from Germany and Poland and so on. They were either from starvation or killing, shooting, or otherwise, but not to the gas chamber. They were not subjected. One night, I can tell you, when I was finally, we heard and saw fire and cries, and that field was quite far away from my field. And this was a field of the gypsies. And I want to explain to you, the gypsies, they had their whole families in this particular field. And as you know, especially musicians, the music of the, you know, the gypsies is very well known. And they were very happy people. So they were entertaining the SS. As you know, and this is so horrible, I have to mention to you, this was a country of the highest level of culture, not only in Europe, I would say in the world. And you know, whoever studies history about Germany. And if this could happen, coming from such a country, that Hitler could use the propaganda and brainwash such a high-level cultured people, then it's something to think twice that can happen again. I'm sorry to tell you. Finishing about those gypsies, they were putting up a tremendous fight because they knew, like I say, while they were there, they were dancing and playing all the, you know, the music for them. And then one night, because this was already getting, like I mentioned to you, for your bet in their war, and they knew, and this was in the evening, and I'll never forget this shooting. Of course, it was a tremendous fight. They put it in because they knew they're going to the gas chamber. So might as well to fight. But, of course, I'm glad there are a lot of German soldiers were killed, the SS men, but they had always more help coming in, and they overpowered them. I cannot tell you how many went already to the gas chamber, but it is important for you to know about it too. And also, I can mention to you, like I mentioned before, you never, yes. I was working close one day also putting, you know, ashes. Like when you read my poem, this is the way that really it was in Auschwitz. I don't know if everybody has my poem. I have here some extra ones.
I have a stack of them.
Oh, you stack them fine. And then I have a few of those, you know, other. And how would you feel when the trucks with the ashes are coming from the crematoria and you are spreading those ashes on those fields as a fertilizer? And I want you to know, each time when I picked up those ashes, there were still little pieces of bones where they could never burn. And no one can feel that pain. And you had to be very brave not to cry or do something because he could shoot you right on the spot. Another time they did a selection which I would like to mention to you. While in the counting in the morning, sometimes you could stay even for hours, especially they did it. Either it didn't come out the count right or whatever. Weather, shine or rain, whatever the weather was, even snowing, we were counted outside, except when the SS women couldn't stand that, we were counted inside on our koyas when we were standing. This time was a selection, I would say probably around March, because I still remember the ice was still really thick, you know, and we were standing in the counting. And we saw right away Tauber, and his secretary, she happened to be from Czechoslovakia. As you know, the Czechoslovakian women were the first really to come in to Auschwitz-Birkenau. And whoever of them survived had later better lives and they could, you know, have better jobs and so on. They helped each other. And when we saw this Sauber, we knew there is going to be a selection. And what he did, he was, while we were standing in fives, he was going through, and if he did not like you, all she had to do is his secretary writing down your number. That's all. Every girl knew that she will be going to the gas chamber. It took maybe a week or 2 weeks, and suddenly we hear the Blocksperre, and we knew they came into the barrack. And I would like for you to visualize, or even, you know, with your ears, to hear the shrieks and the cries of each girl, what she had to step down to go to the gas chamber. And it happens all that one from my hometown, they were, I think, twins, and one was picked, her number was on the list. So it was, what can I tell you? Well,
I think Dan would like us to stop so they
I'm sorry.
Wrap up, because I would like there to be a little bit of time if anyone has just
some questions. Yes, okay. I will not go any farther, you know, telling you the most horrible things what I have seen there. It's unbelievable. Only one thing I can tell you, when the Russians liberated Auschwitz-Birkenau, as you know from history, when they were coming closer, they put us, the ones what were still, you know, able to walk. Mengele went also a selection on us, and the ones who were able, we got a blanket, we got, you know, a half a bread, and I remember a can of horse meat. And this is what, you know, we walked, as you in the history is known, at the Death March. From the Death March, as you remember what, you know, Regina was telling you, I wind up finally in Bergen-Belsen. In Bergen-Belsen, as you know, in the day of liberation, what happened to me. And I have to really finish on that, because probably there are some, you know, I could talk for 4 hours, not give you everything really what I really went through. So please understand that the time is short, correct?
We do have